Welcome, everyone, to episode 4 of the CoreCast. I'm Taylor, here with Gabe.
Yep.
And would our guest like to introduce himself?
Sure, yeah, I'm Joe.
This is Joe. Joe, you're quite an astute and longtime member of Core.
I am, yes.
You were president for a year.
Yeah, I'm a Core senior. I have 4 years.
Yeah.
I've been on the e-board for 3 years. I did 3 years on the e-board.
Long time.
Yeah. He's one of those fabled freshmen that managed to somehow make it onto the e-board. He's like Davix.
Oh, really?
Davix evaporated halfway through to go to Apple. No. What happened? I don't even remember what happened. Something happened, and then a position opened up, and I ended up on the e-board. Yeah. Okay. So I was probably one of the only freshmen that have been on the e-board. That wasn't a vice president who got appointed or something.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we've had a lot of freshman vice presidents in the past few years. Okay.
Makes sense.
So, Gabe, have anything to say?
No, I'll let you start.
Any kind of announcements?
Do I?
That people listen, that you need to remind yourself of when you go edit this?
Something that you're gonna lose sleep if you don't say it. Come on.
I don't even
It's just
know
gonna
what
eat
you're
on you
talking about.
forever.
All right. Well, since we have a significantly reduced cast this time, I guess we can go straight into the.
So usually 10 people.
Yeah, there's 5 people.
Five
usually.
usually.
So usually there's more people talking, but it feels weird to get straight into business.
Yeah.
Okay, so as some of you might have heard, the company Twitter has been doing not so hot lately.
Oh, Twitter's just such garbage. I can't believe they're even alive still.
Yeah, so I made this. I actually did the research, sort of, for once.
You Wikipedia'd it?
No, I actually read a bunch of news articles.
Oh, okay.
About what our topic tonight is. So Twitter has not been doing so hot, as we're all computer science majors, technologists. We've all worked somewhere involved in tech. So they just hired a new CEO.
It was the same old CEO.
It's the old CEO, kind of people are comparing it to the Steve Jobs situation with Apple a few years ago.
Yeah, a few years ago.
Yeah,
20.
The 90s?
just a few years ago. Jack Dorsey is the new interim CEO.
Yeah.
And he was one of the co-founders, and he...
Didn't he, he announced their layoffs in a tweet?
Yeah.
What a dick.
He laid off 8% of the...
In a tweet?
Yeah.
Who does that? That's so...
No, 8? No.
Yeah.
I thought it was 20.
I saw 8% in this article.
800 out of 4,000.
That is... I have no idea. I don't know.
8 out of 40? Just...
I don't know.
He wrote...
Yeah, that's 5%. That's 5%.
So he made an official announcement in a memo, which was apparently hosted on the government website, which in the news article I could not find because it was taken down.
Oh.
But as the article quotes, the layoffs is a great beginning and a bold peek into the future of how people will see what's going on in the world. Now, this is a little out of context.
That was, that's from Dorsey?
I believe so,
Or is that from the person who... What does that even mean?
Moments, Dorsey wrote in the memo announcing the layoffs, is a great beginning and a bold peek into the future of how people will see what's going on.
Oh,
in the world.
the new Moments feature.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh. Their Twitter's doing a...
They have a new feature.
What does it do?
It's
it's
part of that.
I'm
It's
so
part of their
unfamiliar with
feed
Twitter.
thing. They were comparing it with Facebook's, what do they call, the events from your past type thing?
Memories?
Memories, kind of like that.
Oh, okay.
But they were saying it much suckier than Facebook's. I remember reading an article that was just
describing it in a worse way.
Because it's
like,
less...
yeah, actually, you should
Facebook Moments is huge.
They're just copying Facebook.
That's a big feature.
But they saying that Twitter, in an attempt to sort of emulate the same thing.
Okay, so they're just going to try copying things because they're hemorrhaging users?
Is just a lot worse because it's less seamlessly integrated into the Twitter feed. But that's just one thing that they're trying. The main point of this article is that a lot of things are trying to overtake Twitter. And
I mean, Twitter's been hemorrhaging users for years.
Yeah. So,
and money, probably. I don't know.
Oh, definitely.
I don't look at their earnings reports.
They've been, if I can quote a statistic, they've been making $2 billion in revenue for the past few years. So the revenue is still increasing, but the profits just they still have losses. Whereas Facebook they've been making a lot of comparisons between Twitter and Facebook. Facebook has been making profits of $2 billion.
Yeah, so it's like, it's a big difference.
So there's a huge...
I mean, there was a reason, this is literally quoting an engineer from when I was there. He's like, there's a reason that Facebook hemorrhages users, that Twitter hemorrhages users and Facebook grows by a Twitter. Like, there's a reason behind that, and like, clearly...
So, we have this whole...
How many users does Twitter have?
I don't know. It didn't say that. It
Is
just
there like
showed
a
me what the growth
easily
was.
shown statistic somewhere? Does somebody have a ballpark guess?
I have no idea. You know what? I can Google it right now. How many...
Yeah, that's why I should have brought my laptop. But
yeah, how many users does Twitter have? Ah, man. Speed Googling. Yeah, I read a lot of Business Insider articles.
I'm going to guess
200.
This particular article...
200 million.
Yeah, just 200. No,
200 million. 232 million users.
But it doesn't mention the 651 million users who abandoned Twitter.
Yeah, those are the
No,
active,
I'm talking about active
monthly,
users.
Yeah, monthly active.
Monthly active is 200 million?
Yeah.
That's not a lot. Like, there's 1 billion active users a day on Facebook. There's literally 1 billion people a day on Facebook. So, Twitter's having some trouble. They lost 650 million?
That's according to the Business Insider article.
That's many users.
That's almost...
That's more. They lost half, right? 230, 600? So it was like 800 and they lost
Yeah, they were almost at 1 billion. They almost did it.
Yeah. But
wow, that's
so
only MAP though.
It's going down the...
So they have 200,000 monthly active users, and that means that like you log in once in a month. So that's what is the daily active user?
I log in once in a month.
Yep.
The daily active, I'm going to guess, is probably
like I have a Twitter, but I don't post to it. The only reason I actually ever had a Twitter was so I could use its API.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I had one in the first place. Which is actually something interesting. One of the articles brings up how the developer relationship between Twitter and developers have been over the past few years. Not good, at all.
I mean, I don't think Facebook's was ever good, though.
No,
Facebook's API is horrible to work with.
They were saying worse than what Facebook's relationship
really?
is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Facebook doesn't have a bad relationship with developers.
Their
API is just very difficult
I'm
to
not
work
even
with.
talking about developers, just people developing for the platform. The comparison
even
that was
internally?
being made was... No, just third party, not internally. But the comparison was being made of... Facebook had some video... What do they call it? Here's the article. The article quotes, Interestingly, Twitter retains a reputation for being less developer-friendly than Facebook, even though Facebook has not been shy at all about destroying the dreams of those who helped to build the platform. In particular, it references a company called... what is it?
Vidya?
Man, I read through this article, but I completely forget what the company it was about. Vidi, I believe.
Vidi.
The company was called. But anyways, it just makes a reference to how unfortunate sort of developers' relations. As part of the article, kind of analyzes that this might be part of the reason why they're struggling so much now, and particularly why Jack Dorsey should be the article itself makes the argument that there should be that he's sort of the only one who can do it. If Twitter is to be saved,
he's the only person who can do it.
He was the only one who can do it because he's inside. He's one of the co-founders, and he was already inside. Any external developers are already hostile to Twitter. Yeah. And of course, they just laid off a bunch of people.
So now it's good. That's a rough work environment to be in.
Yeah.
As a developer, as the software developers working there. There's unless they're paying them very well, there's no incentive to stay at a company like that. Because Silicon Valley is all about growth. Everyone's I need to go to a startup because startups are going to grow and make tons of money. But if you're at a company that's shrinking, people bail that. They will bail out of that so fast, like a sinking ship. They're done. They're just going to put down their buckets and just dive out of the ship. Screw it. That's rough. I don't know about Twitter. I don't know if they can come back.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. Yeah. They're talking about they almost tried to get in the CEO of Google to do it at the same time.
Really?
With Twitter and Google have the same CEO. To have, like, Google has a CEO right now, Sundar Pichai, and they seriously consider try to get him to be the CEO of Twitter, the new one.
Pull him out of Google?
No, just maybe have them do it at the same time. Because right now, Jack Dorsey is not only the CEO of Twitter, but also the CEO of Square.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Because that's what that's the company he started after Twitter ousted him.
Twitter.
And now
they got him back.
Yeah. Like, well, Square's actually about to go IPO, like make its IPO.
Yeah, Square's a good product.
Too bad they rejected me. I would have had some sweet IPO.
Square's a good product.
IPO money, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they said that Square needed to scale back after like initially having its idea of being it's going to change the way like transactions, money worked in general, like transactions work. And when they realized that wasn't what
they tried
to
take too big of a bite out of the market.
Yeah, they just scaled back to small and medium businesses, which is what it's good for. And I definitely
it's like when I was in California, anytime there was like a street fair or something, all the vendors use Square. Like every single vendor uses Square to do all their transactions. And that's like the kind of people they need to target because there's tons of that stuff.
Yeah. So what people are saying about Twitter is, or at least this article says, is that one of the problems with it was that Twitter, the company, confused growth with employment growth, which is what happened, which is why they're laying people off.
Oh,
now.
like they created a hiring bubble?
Is that they just, because they thought that they were growing, they said, oh, in order to grow, or they kind of like confused the association between growth and how many developers
they probably saw
hiring.
like revenue continuing to go up,
and so
but the user growth probably stagnated, but they continued hiring people.
Yeah,
and then once user growth stagnates, as soon as it starts dropping, your revenue follows like immediately. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. They overhired.
Yeah.
How many people were they?
4,000.
According to
Gabe.
Gabe.
Pretty big.
That's what I read.
It's pretty big.
Twitter developer.
They're bigger than Bloomberg, I think, in devs.
I just get Twitter API documentation. That's not what I want. Anyway, I also think this article is this particular article is from the New Yorker. It's called "Jack in a Box: Can Twitter Be Saved?" Probably should have mentioned that earlier, but whatever. It does this nice comparison between. Pebble is trying to tell me something. That's another company that's be great to talk about.
Oh yeah.
It makes a lot of comparisons between Facebook and Twitter. Do you think that's like unfair, or do you think that's no?
You're social media.
Okay.
You're like the end goal is the same. The end goal is to attract users to look at ads to generate revenue.
Yes, that's the other thing it looks at is I completely forgot about that actually, Jack. No. The other guy that they were looking at, I forget what his name is, it was some article that was like linked off of this, was a guy who was just known for doing ads. I gotta find like his name, but like that's what his focus was. Is that he came in, he would come into a company and just focus on the ad market.
I mean, clearly, like the experience on Facebook and Twitter is very different, but in the end goal, like your only goal is to get people on every day to look at ads to generate lots of money. That's it. That's like all you want to do. So Twitter chose to do it one way, Facebook chose to do it another way, but in the end, they're the same thing. So I think it's totally fair to compare them.
Right. And I just found. Oh, the other thing that they're doing is they're comparing Facebook with like the high mark. Like Twitter wants to be there, but they're also looking at another company passing Twitter. That's getting more users than Twitter. You want to take a guess at what that company that is? They're saying a lot of the younger user
It's social
base.
media?
Yeah, social media type.
Is it like the new MySpace or something?
No. Oh, certainly
Is it
not.
Yikak?
Nope.
Yikak's not social media, though.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they don't have like a desktop client.
What's your definition of... no, they
well,
don't.
for me, it's like...
This is just a mobile app.
I don't know. It's just a mobile app?
Yeah. It involves pictures.
Instagram.
Snapchat?
Yeah.
Yeah, Snapchat's growing huge.
Russian past.
Well, I mean, it's
another
easy to make
company.
and, like, quick.
It's another company that we've talked about before. Like before. I know that they've been having some revenue issues we've been hearing about.
Yeah.
But I don't
Snapchat?
have
The thing is, like, all
of
of
Well,
the
they're a
apps
startup,
are
and so, yeah.
as well. Like, so you're on there, you see an ad, you just like tap past it, and like you also don't have to see ads because they're not going to put ads on people's pictures. So only if you look at like their content.
It's definitely a harder platform to monetize, right? Because like mobile in general is a much harder platform to monetize for ads. I feel because you have so much like the amount of space you have is so much less. So any ad you put has such a way like bigger impact on the user experience. Like when you're on like desktop environment, Facebook, there's tons of space to like put ads. Or Twitter on the desktop, there's tons of space for you to have an ad somewhere, and it still is like effective. But when you're on mobile, especially with an app like with Snapchat, the user experience is very much like everything is a full screen, and so you can't really like you can't put like an ad on half a screen. Like it has to be a full screen ad to keep with the design of like the app itself. And so then it's like, well, do we force people to sit here and like stare at this full screen ad? Because that's just going to piss people off. Mm-hmm. But if you don't, but then you're not going to have effective ads. So like no one's going to want to pay for them. So that's rough. It's like it's a harder platform. But they are growing like insanely huge, and they have some good devs. Their devs they know their user base, and they release like all kinds of interesting updates and stuff. Like the recent thing with the faces, like the scary faces.
Oh yeah.
Like they make it fun, and they're keeping it fresh, which is good. But we got to see how long they can do that. They're really passing Twitter.
Yeah.
What do they have? I'm gonna guess.
I have to
350 million MEP.
I have to find the exact part of the article that says, "Hey, Snapchat is only just control F Snapchat." I recently looked at the active user base of some of the competitors, and pretty much all except Snapchats are bigger than Twitter's. Okay, so
Snapchat's growing very fast.
So
What are some of the other competitors?
Instagram has leaped past the service.
Okay.
Younger users prefer Snapchat. That's like what it's
Makes
talking
sense.
about.
Snapchat and Instagram.
It's because like Twitter's just for like news. Old people.
Weirdly enough, they mentioned WhatsApp has become a favorited discussion zone, especially in emerging markets such as Africa.
Oh yeah, huge overseas.
Didn't know that.
WhatsApp
That's
is
mostly what it
gigantic
is,
overseas.
yeah.
Everybody uses WhatsApp overseas.
Because people in the U.S. just like text. It's like whatever.
So, I mean, overseas WhatsApp. So Line is big in like I believe it's India and Indonesia. There's WhatsApp is growing in India, but they're also like one of the other big ones. There was one more, Kakao Talk, that's big in China. There's a bunch of other like messaging services that are like big overseas.
What's the one in China?
Kakao Talk, I believe.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of something else.
What are you thinking of?
I think I might be thinking of the Facebook version, or like the Chinese version of Facebook.
Oh, I mean, I don't think that's very popular.
Okay.
I mean, like for China, I'm sure it's not.
Anyway, so the article also moves on to talk about the hopes for Twitter, what Twitter's plan strategy might be from here on out.
Drop weight.
Well, that's one of the things they've already done. They've already had to fire.
That's step one, and so they're doing that.
They already had to fire a bunch of people.
And then next is like focus on core product. What do you want to say, and like how can that contribute to like?
So I think their core product works, but it's just not exciting enough. Mm. They need. I think they need like more features. Right.
So what Dorsey plans, what he's always sort of planned for Twitter, until he was ousted at least, is that he wanted Twitter to be an information news network, an idea originally floated by the company's co-founder. Well, that's Biz Stone made that up, who described it as the new CNN. So they want to be the new CNN, which I don't know if that's good or not, but they're kind of equating the allegory to be when CNN emerged. That was sort of when cable networks rose, like the rise and innovation of cable networks. They want Twitter to be that, but for
I think
everyone in the world.
I think that's a really good idea.
It's not a bad idea.
Because like the whole point of it is that it takes these like trending topics, and then you could sort of just become like a news service, and like you'll be able to break news faster than anyone because like every person using Twitter is, I guess sort of a pseudo reporter in a way, right? So you'll be able to like find the news that people actually care about because they've got access to all this data about what's actually trending.
I remember when I was watching the Republican national debate, and yes, I did do that when it came out, when they did that in the summer. That was what I was watching. Like, I was like, the debate was on the
Twitter.
television, but I was watching Twitter the entire time.
Because it's like
hilarious.
It's
but I got to see what
hysterical,
other
and
people
like
thought.
it actually kind of it filters out like stuff that you don't care about, right? So you can sort of compress these things like a Republican debate. It'll compress it down to like the key points that trend really highly, just get bubbled up to the top, and then you just see the things that like matter the most. And then later on, you can always go and watch it. But I feel like they have access to this data, and they really don't like use it for anything. Like I go on Twitter, I want to see like super cool trending topic. Like there's always like a little thing that's like, trending hashtags, and it's like 10 of them. I'd like to see this data in like a more visual representation. So something like a news from Twitter, I would like that. I think that would be cool.
Well, their plan for that is this moments thing. Let me see.
Yeah, but isn't
if I
that just
can find
stuff?
that one.
Does it work exactly like memories?
I don't
Because
know.
then it would just be
Either of
things
those
from like
are-
your past. No, Facebook's thing.
Oh, it's like this is from 2 years ago.
Yeah, where it'll find like a good like.
Yeah.
The other day it was like the pictures of Nigos sleeping in chem
But like that
from
would,
like because it was the day I had friended Nigos like 5 years ago or something.
that wouldn't work though. I think.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't make sense for Twitter. In
Yeah,
the
you
context
know,
of
your
Twitter,
own
it makes no
tweets.
sense.
So they're looking to expand the people that use it, though. So their strategy is, and this is what the article says, is the simplest way for the company to find, focus, and highlight its utility to the people beyond the core community of users, already well versed in the language of faves, RTs, and subtweets. So that's where they plan to go. Is they've already had people that know what Twitter is, so they're looking for a way to
What they need right now,
Focus
they
it.
need growth.
through
So they need a
information.
hook.
Yeah.
They need a hook. They need something that's just going to like get tons of people coming to the service. And right now, I don't think they need to care so much about retention, but they need this flood of people to the service. One, to start rebuilding a user base, and two, to sort of, how do I explain this? Just to like instill faith back in the company, to like prove that yes, like look, like we're getting people back, like we can bring people back, bring investors back to Twitter, so that they can get some more money to then actually start like bringing their retention rates back up.
Right, and part of the one of the statistics that I saw was that the end of quarter reports showed. What are you laughing at, Dave? We were being too serious.
No.
Okay. At the end of quarter reports showed us.
What are you giggling at, you
laughing
moron?
about? We
He
just
doesn't even
became the,
talk. This is like his
financial-
show. Gibbs talked like twice.
I'm just listening to the conversation.
The end of quarter like reports came in and showed that while they were still getting revenue, their growth had like decreased acceleration majorly. So it had decelerated to some point. It was still increasing, but just a lot slower, and then it lost a bunch of investment because of that. So
This was Twitter?
Yeah, Twitter. The thing to consider, though, also as well, is the Twitter Moments thing. Let me see if I can find more new on it. It's a stream of text, photos, and videos that adds up to what's news on Twitter.
Oh,
It's
that's
not
not the same.
algorithmic. It's put together by editors. So people would
Wow.
be taking
oh,
Twitter.
that's
But then they have to like.
that's
actually-
pretty non-sustainable.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like extremely non-sustainable with the
Well,
amount of
it's
data that
probably,
you're
like-
dealing with.
It's probably bubbled. So like they don't get everything. They get like already things that are like thrown out.
Well, I'm sure it goes through like they're just basically going to go and farm the trending topics. But I don't. Ooh, not algorithmic. Like, come on, this is 2015. You're in Silicon Valley. Like,
They're just like
You gotta
no one
automate
to
this
do it.
process.
Yeah, use Scala for something, right?
I don't. Ugh.
They're like, we don't need all these 800 algorithmic engineers. Like, Send them
Yeah,
over.
maybe that's what they fired. They fired all the algorithms guys.
We don't need the algorithms.
Yeah.
We can do it ourselves. Just like every other
Every
media
person-
company
They just print out flashcards.
that's,
and
of
it's
course,
storing
doing
it.
successfully. Like CNN. CNN.
This is
doing
weird.
great.
You know, this is like... this is sounding exactly like Reddit's new thing.
What did they
That's,
do?
With their
that's another
Reddit's new
comparison
news
they
site.
need to. What?
They have a news site now?
No, Reddit wants to create a news platform.
Oh, well, they have like a couple things now.
It was a big announcement recently. Like,
Yes, I remember that.
they're moving in and they want to turn it and like use all of like the data that they collect from Reddit to build a news service. So like you'll have a sort of, I guess it's like a different view into Reddit through like a news website instead of just pure Reddit. You'd have to look it up. I'm probably
That
just
sounds-
like lying completely about
Let
what
me
I'm
look
doing.
at
But
it.
they also said they're revamping their algorithm because it's broken.
Yes, the algorithm has been broken
How
for
did
a
it
while.
break? How did it break?
There's too much data. It just broke the algorithm.
Oh.
You'll have things that clearly have way more people, like way more attention to them behind like a picture of a puppy with like 4 upvotes. Like significant world news, like bombs going off in places, like behind things that are very insignificant.
Yeah.
The algorithm, I don't know what's going on. Like, obviously nobody really
How
knows
did
unless
they
you
do
work
that?
there. But their algorithm is broken. It does not trend things properly.
Yeah, the only thing I'm finding is our news. So
No, I totally
Yeah,
read
no.
this the other day.
I think I remember something. Oh, upvoted. That's what it
Upvoted.
is.
Yep, there you go. That's the name.
Upvoted.
And it's news. Is this the new thing? Is Facebook?
I
And
guess
then next
so.
next week, Facebook's gonna be like, "Yo, news service." It's like, what is going on?
Facebook TV.
Dropbox news service? Like everyone's just
No,
gonna make a news
Dropbox
service.
came out with Paper.
Paper?
Yeah. When I saw it, it was like
Dropbox is a company I'm worried about.
Yeah,
Okay, that's interesting.
and like a good way. Or
I
bad
just
way?
went to upvoted.com. The top article right now is Canadians build hoverboard. Takes next step to becoming Green Goblin.
Green
So,
Goblin.
it's fascinating.
Upvoted,
Right now.
dude. It's gonna be the new thing.
Why not? I mean, I like this idea because that's primarily what I use Reddit for is news. Like, I completely unfollowed everything that they give me by default.
I think
Just
it's
everything computer science,
good
technology. Related.
because they have. It's just interesting because you have like traditional news services, and then you have like Reddit and Twitter and all these people that aggregate like ungodly amounts of information about things that like people care about because like people are talking about it on their site. And so to make a news service out of these is just like super cool. Like the thought of that is just awesome because that's like people actually care about this. It's not like CNN cares about this or like Fox News cares. And it's like no, like people literally care about this, and that's the big difference there. And that's cool. I like that. But I don't know why everyone is starting to create news services. This is. I don't know how I feel about this.
it's an interesting idea.
Snapchat news service.
They have
Snapchat.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
Too late. So, like, what is it? Is every social media platform converging to a news service, and then
Well, the thing is
world
like
Social media is
explodes?
going to disappear, and then like everything's going to turn into news.
Yeah, and then Facebook will just be
Yeah,
what's
you know-
news in your friends' lives.
Yeah, you're not allowed to add anything. You just have to read.
And the only one left will be Google, and
Yeah.
they'll be like, "Yeah, we're still a search engine."
Yeah, they just like we search them.
we search news. Well, they have Google.
Here's
News.
all of the social media platforms you can use. Look at this advertisement while you go scroll past our links. So the only other thing that it talks about Twitter's hopeful future. They say, of course, the person who wrote this article is very critical of the current Moments platform as it is because they say it's very unintegrated, very different from the Twitter feed. So they say it's just so visually
Is it
breaking.
an active thing right now? Like it's.
I don't know if it's active, but
They
like
might be
this
doing,
person
like, a
seems to.
test
It might be a
run.
test.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because this is not like it needs to be part of Twitter.
Yeah.
It's one thing if like Twitter's doing fine and they want to create this new cool thing.
Yeah.
This thing is like supposed to save Twitter, so like it's gonna have to be really like well implemented with Twitter.
Well, it seems like Dorsey's not afraid of scaling back. If
Well,
he
of
needs
course.
to.
I mean, he did it.
Yeah,
did it
they
already.
did that already. So
So if Twitter's going to scale back, it's going to scale back, and they're going to have to work on these products. The other thing that they talk about, though, is that Twitter has recently acquired a couple of companies, which they think will really help it out. The two companies being Vine and Periscope.
They bought Vine?
Yeah.
When? How recently?
I have no idea.
No, I wouldn't say it's that recently.
I feel like maybe I did know this.
What is Periscope? Like Twitch?
It's apparently a streaming service.
Okay, I've heard of Periscope.
Video streaming service.
And Vine is like Instagram video.
And it was, oh my god, there's a Vine Kids.
I guess that makes sense.
Because most Vines are just like vile garbage that you definitely wouldn't want
like
your
some
kids
kind
to.
of like music joke.
What?
Why did they buy a streaming service?
I don't know. Because streaming is just
Didn't
becoming
they also like
really
destroy
popular
that
as well.
company that was using their API or something?
Yeah. That
It's
was
like
Periscope.
ridiculous. Oh, so they just like bought them?
I don't know. I think I remember, like, Periscope.
They just sued them into oblivion to
Yeah,
like
they were just
bring
like-
their like
Yeah,
price
so they're
down
like,
so that they
we'll
could
buy
buy
it.
them.
Yeah. Well,
What a
because
bunch of
Twitter's not
scumbags.
making that much money. They can't just buy anything.
But I mean, whatever. I don't know. These companies have like
I don't
there's
know.
there's
It's
got to
the
be a good
first of
reason
many.
to acquire a streaming company.
It seems
right?
like it happened in 2012. Goodness. Yeah, that was a while ago.
Like they always have ulterior motives.
Well,
Because
yeah,
I
I
thought it
think,
was
like-
stupid for Facebook to like buy Oculus.
Yeah.
But then, like, when I heard them there talking about why they bought Oculus, I'm like, wow, that makes sense. So there's always, like, an ulterior motive, and they probably know what they're doing.
Well, I mean, like...
Speaking of which, oh my god,
it's all
Oculus
about
is here.
streaming.
Or no, it's HTC Vive is this year.
Is it?
Yeah, this is, like, so off topic, but, like...
That, like, we need to get some
Oh, okay.
to the lab.
No, what they're doing is HTC Vive is going to be open at a premium price this year, holiday season. Otherwise, you're going to wait until quarter one of next year. For the normal
so
price.
they put the price up so that
They're raising
less
the price,
people buy
yeah.
it. We should get one for this.
I am buying probably the Vive and the Rift. I will probably end up buying both. Just because VR is like the
It's
best
gonna
thing.
be like the it's like Sony versus Xbox. Like you're either like a Sony person or like the Microsoft Xbox.
But I'm gonna be
side.
both. So
Yeah.
they're very different, actually.
Well, they're different like concept because Oculus is sitting down experience.
Well, no. I mean, they're different in execution. Oculus is a closed ecosystem. So, like, in order to use it, you need to like tell Oculus you want to use it, and then they like help you integrate it. But the Vive is just like, here's an SDK, like do whatever the hell you want. That was so off topic. I'm like, yeah, but I'm just so excited about VR.
We're fine with branches. If I can quote an article I just found on... Excuse me a moment.
You can't quote it. I will not allow it.
It's from
Yeah, I thought it was
the
good.
wall.
It's from the Wall Street Journal talking about Twitter's acquisition of Periscope. Some person is not worried about the acquisition by Twitter. He says, "I think it's wonderful. I think Twitter is a smart company and they know what they're doing. It's great for space." So they
It's
really
great for space.
I don't know what that means, but it's great for the space.
Maybe they were like Periscope's neighbor, and so now they have one.
Yeah.
Well, I think like Periscope is a streaming service, so they like all Twitter needs to do is move data quickly, and if Periscope is good at doing that, it'd be good to bring them on and like infrastructure.
Yeah, I suppose you do need to have good info people if you're doing
Because that's all they need to do.
if you're doing streaming. Yeah.
Which is probably why they have Vine as well, because they're also doing like little video. Because Vine's just like Instagram, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's like completely
similar.
not.
Well, I mean, like it's
But
a
similar?
similar concept, but
In
it's
con-
like
yeah,
totally
but
different.
one's picture, one's video.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Well, yeah, Facebook, Instagram video. Like they have like the
Yeah.
5-second things. They're not used the same way.
Yeah.
Not at all.
There's far fewer of them too. I
Yeah.
feel.
Vine is like the ghetto Instagram video.
Yeah. It's like super ghetto.
Yeah. It's like, oh, look at my like high class meal, and then Vine is like, yo, what's up? And it's like a rap.
Yeah, it's like a rap. Yeah.
Yeah?
Like people getting beat
No,
up.
Taylor? No?
I don't know. So, I think that's all I have to talk about for Twitter specifically.
I think they're gonna be done.
They're gonna tank.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where's this
I don't
all
think
going?
Twitter's coming back.
Twitter's just gone.
Like they're probably not gonna die, but they're gonna be tiny.
They're gonna
It's like
fizzle
MySpace.
out a slow death, kind of like Opera.
Yeah. Oh,
They're just gonna
Opera.
fizzle a slow death over like years.
You know what's going to be funny is that I've always thought about this because when, obviously, we were much younger, we had things that are now.
I had a MySpace.
Well,
I did
I'm
have
not talking about MySpace.
I
but
had a
like,
MySpace.
that could be a good example. I'm talking about like floppy disks and film caps, that kind of stuff.
But that's hard. That's
things that are gone.
physical.
Now. Physical stuff. Things that are gone. I've always wondered, like, with the past few years, from 2008 to now, like, in 10 years from now, or from at least 10 years from 2010 or something, will we be talking about all this stuff as if it was, like, some relic of the past? Because, like, that's what happened with MySpace.
Well, I mean,
it's like
yeah.
Facebook.
because
gonna be a
like
relic
in the
of past?
90s, people were talking about like man, Prologue used to be awesome. Like, what
Yeah.
happened there? It's like no one even talks about that today because they were saying like, oh man, it's Ada now. It's not Prologue, and it's like nobody cares about either of those
No.
things today. So in like 10 years, nobody's gonna give a crap about like what Twitter was or whatever. If
Yeah.
Twitter fizzles out or like Opera is gone,
I never even knew that it was. You were supposed to pronounce it Opera.
it's Opera. I
They
believe.
have a building somewhere. I've seen it in some city on the eastern
in
coast.
some city, somewhere on Earth, in a city, on land, there's a building.
And Opera employees
Yeah,
work there.
they work there.
Supposedly.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think Twitter can come back.
You know?
No.
It's just gone. Forever.
I think that
They're doomed.
they're gonna at this point, it's gonna take them so much time to start rebuilding momentum the other direction, while all of their competitors already have like major momentum in growth. That it just puts them too far behind. I don't feel they'll ever be able to come back. They might be able to like stabilize, but I don't think they'll ever be a big thing. Like they're never going to be a face.
It's going to be weird. Because now all the, what's going to be funny now is that all of the media news outlets like CNN and Fox and all that stuff, they're going to have to unlearn to be all Twitter crazy.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
it
maybe
took
they'll
them
all switch
so
to like
long.
Google Plus.
Oh my god. That would be interesting.
There's like a very small user base on Google Plus, but they are super dedicated people.
Really?
It's probably like all Google employees.
Well, that's
Maybe.
what I always assumed. Anything like that, like
It was so
Plus-
pathetic. Anytime we had to meet with people from a different company, Microsoft like forced you to use Skype. Google
Yeah.
people, you had like a chat. It had to be Google Hangouts, or they wouldn't do it. We had it was like, come on, guys. I just thought it was
It's
funny.
their products, yeah.
They just like forced them to use their products.
I
Not
mean-
that Facebook like didn't force us.
Right.
I mean, they
was
totally
about to
forced
say.
us to use Facebook, but they were just like so adamant about it. It was hysterical.
Yeah, so like, what if you... Oh man, I totally forgot what I was
We're gonna make
say.
them like buy Oculi to like have meetings with us in like 10 years.
Facebook.
That's
Oculus
yeah.
Rift.
That's what we're
It's
working
totally, it's where we're going. Yeah, it's what Gabe's working on,
What?
on. That's my research project.
is to have meetings with Oculus Rift.
But that's what Oculus is working on
No,
too.
no.
So
We're
I'm
gonna
pretty sure
publish
Oculus
first.
is gonna beat you.
Nah,
They built the thing like.
Publish or die.
SIGGRAPH 2K16.
What if like Microsoft comes out of nowhere and comes out with their like HoloLens and that's your virtual meeting?
But it's so
I don't think it'll be a
expensive.
thing. So augmented reality is way harder to do than virtual reality.
Yeah. I
Much
think
more
it's going to
difficult.
be like a Google Glass deal where it's just like
Yeah.
totally out of...
Yeah, absolutely.
Reason.
It's just like the amount of processing power to do AR is significantly higher. If like, I don't know, I don't have like technical details, but if you like building a convincing environment on top of one that already exists
Yeah.
is way harder than just being able to just do it from scratch.
Mhm.
Because in that you have full control over everything, right? So you can like cut corners on things, but AR is hard. AR is very hard. And that's like from the mouth of Palmer Luckey. Like, he doesn't like AR at the moment. He says it's too hard.
Oh, there you go. Heard it here.
Dude,
Okay.
he's the coolest guy. He's
Palmer
22. First of all, that guy's 22 years old.
Uh-huh. Well, that's only...
He's 1 year older than I am. And, like, his company got bought for $2 billion, and, like, I'm a senior in college. Like, what am I doing with my life? But he's just, like, he is so pro VR. It's insane. Like, when he talks, he's just like, yeah, VR, it's gonna, like, end world hunger, and, like, bring the world together, and, like, do all these things, and, like, advance the human race, and, like, we're gonna do this. And I'm like, whoa. Like, this guy's so into it. And it's, like, so inspiring. He's just, like, so pro VR, and I've, like, never been that adamant about anything in my life. It was cool. He was a cool guy. I liked him. I like him currently. I don't not like him. But
that's present, past,
yeah, and future. They're going to do awesome stuff. Like, VR is going to be the coolest thing ever. Because for VR, for us, like, we're alive for, like, the birth of virtual reality. Like, this has been a thing that's been written about in sci-fi books, like, theorized for, like, years. Years people have talked about, like, the concept of virtual reality. And, like, we're actually going to be alive for, like, its birth.
I'm super stoked for the holodeck.
The holodeck?
Yeah. On Star Trek,
Oh, yeah.
Holodeck?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Because it's like you had people who were alive for, like,
well, it won't
cars,
exactly be a holodeck.
Right? There were people who were alive when, like, cars became a thing, and then people who were alive from when, like, computers became a thing. I consider VR to be just as, like, magical as, like, the car or the computer. And, like, we get to experience that. That is so awesome. We're going to be able to just, like, see every iteration from, like, the beginning of what VR is. And that's pretty cool. I'm excited. I'm going to buy them all.
Every single VR thing?
It's going to turn my... Yeah, it's just, like, utopian life.
I'm not totally convinced of the VR.
I am 100% convinced.
I have to see something that, like, really, honestly... I haven't spent too much time in VR.
You haven't spent too much time in it, and you haven't used, like, a decent one. DevKit 2 is not decent anymore. DevKit 2 is, like, garbage compared to some of the stuff that I got to use this summer.
Oh.
DevKit 2 is just, like, a piece of filth, comparatively.
You're just a special Facebook employee. Right?
It's like, they're going to be so good. VR, I think even for the average person, you shouldn't, like, start buying headsets now, because, like, they're not going to be good enough. But for, like, the enthusiast, this is going to be awesome. Like, next year is going to be nuts.
Next year?
Next year, yeah. Q1 next year is the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift, CV1. And it's going to be awesome.
All right.
And they have so many cool games coming out. Oh, man. Eve Valkyrie is, like, super awesome. There's, like, a bunch of really cool VR games that are being worked on. Like, games that are being worked on and have taken the VR, like, from the beginning. Not like things where they're taking it and just, like, putting VR in. Like, they started building the game with the idea of, like, virtual reality.
Yeah, see, that's the thing I've always had a problem with VR games was a lot of it would, like, VR would just be a drop-in replacement for the original
it just feels
experience.
like,
But it's, like, terrible
like,
because...
hey, we can just do VR now. They just, like, put it in, but it doesn't make sense with, like, the gameplay.
Right, the game design mechanics are all, like, completely not taken into effect. Doesn't account for VR at all.
There's going to be some awesome stuff coming on. And I was really surprised this summer when Oculus announced a partnership with Xbox.
Oh!
Did you not hear about this?
About that? I don't know.
This was at the Oculus conference this summer.
Oh yeah, I definitely didn't hear about that because I would have thought HoloLens would have done that.
They're directly partnered with Xbox, which means I think Oculus is going to be able to... Xbox and Oculus will work together.
I mean, like, it's just HDMI and USB. So
yeah, no, but I'm saying that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because that's two, like, gigantic companies that are working together now on this. So they're, like, shipping the headset with an Xbox controller. And I'm sure, like... So Xbox, I'm sure, has the ties in with developers to be able to convince the developers to actually bring, like, VR support into games, right? Mm-hmm. And so now Oculus will be able to say, like, we are going to be compatible with Xbox. And so not only, like, if you put VR support in, you're not only getting it for PC, but you're doing PC and Xbox, which is, like, probably doubles the market size that these people would be interested in. And it's just, like, just to convince them to do it. Mm-hmm. That was interesting. I did not expect that at all.
Can PC gamers even play, like, VR with, like, their normal setup to them? Don't they have to use an Xbox controller?
Well, I mean, you could. You can use a keyboard, but it's just, like, unwieldy.
Yeah.
Unless you're, like, like if you play a lot, like you could probably do it if you don't need to
yeah.
look. But if you need to look, it's like a hassle.
It's very unwieldy. They're going to be shipping their hand controllers too.
The hand controllers?
Yeah,
I've seen those tried before. I've never seen them successful. So.
They're going to be I think it ships with those.
All right. Well, I forgot what I was going to say again. So this VR thing is an interesting topic. So now Facebook owns Oculus.
Yeah.
Oculus is now partnering with Microsoft because they have Xbox.
Yeah.
What
Oculus
other
also
company
helps
was
Samsung.
Samsung? Oh yeah, Samsung.
Samsung works with Oculus for the Gear VR.
Eventually, Google's going to want to.
I believe.
Will Oculus just be like the bridge that binds every?
I think
Silicon
that's
Valley
the
company
idea
together?
behind. That's like Palmer's idea.
It's just they're going to.
He wants to be like. They are willing to help anyone, like get VR off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Like they want it to be a thing for everyone. So like he's willing to work with anyone. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Project Morpheus is based off Oculus work. Like it's based off their stuff with like the lenses and some of the software that they've written. I think, which is that's Sony with PlayStation.
With
so like Oculus has its hands in like every pie, like everybody's pie. Like they want it to be a thing, and they're willing to help everyone and anyone to make it a thing.
Okay,
which is cool.
That could be interesting.
And they keep buying people.
They do.
I think they bought like a company or two over the summer, like smaller stuff.
So we're just gonna get plugged in one day, 10 years from now. 10, maybe no, not even 10.
I think it'll be like 10.
10.
That's
one day, 10
like
years
big.
from now, it'll be as commonplace as an Oculus Rift will be as commonplace as like a computer.
Zuck himself said that he feels in like 10 years from now. So the way he described it was 10 years ago, the desktop environment was like the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that began its transition into mobile.
Mm-hmm.
And so now 10 years later, we have today, and it's mobile.
Yeah.
And he thinks that over the next like 10 or 15 years, the transition's going to start moving away from mobile and actually into VR. Like he thinks VR is going to be the next computing platform. And that's like why
they bought
Oculus, because they think that like VR is the next big thing, and they want to be in there before anybody else.
So all of social media is just going to tank it because
well, think about it. The goal, Facebook's goal, is to make the world more open and connected.
Yes,
and if you can if they can like build a thing where you just like put these like this thing on your face and can sit with anyone in the world and like be in the same room as them.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't really get more open and connected than that. That thought of that is like that's pretty much the peak. So that's like it fit in really well with their goals, and they thought it was a good idea, and I think it's going to be a good idea. I think in 10 or 15 years, like VR is going to be huge.
All right. Well, we'll wait for 2020 for New Year's 20. No, that's 5 years from
like
now.
2025.
2023, 2025. All right, the next big revolution. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I have trouble, and I know a lot of people that I know, just because I'm related to them, that have trouble believing that, would have trouble swallowing that, because they just see what's available now and they think, no way. Like,
well, we don't even have a consumer product out.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard to judge it when there's like no consumer product. Like next year is going to be the earliest point that anyone actually would be able to realistically judge it. When the two sets come out next year. I mean, I guess we do have Gear VR. That's like a consumer one that's out.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually works pretty well. I don't know if you've ever used the Gear VR. They're pretty good. It's like
really
really painless, like just pop the thing. Because it uses the Samsung like S6.
Yep.
And so you just like slide it in. And it's pretty painless. It works pretty well. But we'll see next year.
Yeah, so it could be just a matter of making the experience that you don't have a big thing on your face and just...
Yeah, it's got to be like, the thing on your face has got to be smaller.
Yeah.
It's got to be lighter, and they have achieved that. Like, I think consumer version 1, they said it's like... Palmer said it's like wearing a baseball cap.
Really?
Yeah, which is like...
That's exciting.
That's really light.
If it could be actually like wearing a baseball cap, then everyone wears one. Because
the
everyone
problem
wears
is
baseball caps.
All of them are tethered, right? Because batteries, forget it. That's going to add way too much weight. I don't think screen resolution is high enough yet. We'll see. Maybe they'll release them and they'll be 4K. But if they're not 4K, it's hard because if it's not 4K, you're going to see pixels.
Sure. But who really cares? Like when you talk about a general market audience, who really cares about pixels when it's more about the experience? Like, does that contribute enough? The thing is, when you put so you're thinking 4K now doesn't matter to me when I look at a monitor. But when you take a monitor and then you put it an inch and a half in front of your face, if it's not 4K, you're going to be able to see pixels. But I'm talking, and that cuts away from immersion. I think the biggest thing for immersion with VR is latency. Yeah. So if it's really low latency, you'll kind of forget about some of the resolution things. But I guess for the average user, it probably doesn't matter as much. But for the enthusiast, that 4K is going to matter.
Right, but for the enthusiast, it's not about breaking it to the enthusiast. It's breaking it to my dad.
People. Right. No, absolutely. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
It's the people. It's
going to be too expensive for most people.
Right.
Well, I mean, I don't think the headset itself will be, but the fact that you're going to need pretty significant hardware to drive it.
Yep.
And so at this point, it's still a little too far out of reach for the general public, and that's just kind of a fact of life.
Yeah. So the problem is when we talk about the last breakthrough product, everyone goes back to the iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
That was within reach of the general public. It was expensive, but still people could buy it. Is it going to be achievable for the Oculus?
Well,
I mean, I'm asking you as if you're an expert in Oculus. You're not.
I mean, if you think about the iPhone, though, it's hard to say because clearly, you don't need to have people. They needed a phone, right? That's a much more necessary thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that a price point on that for something that's very necessary needs to be very well within reach. This is still kind of a very luxury item.
Yeah, and what you've been explaining is that Palmer Luckey seems to think that it won't be a luxury item.
No, I think eventually one day
necessary.
Yeah,
just like the mobile phone has become absolutely necessary.
But I think the iPhone, just that in and of itself, is a little bit different because that was already a market that existed.
Right.
The cellular market existed.
This is a completely different.
This is a platform that has never existed ever.
Yeah.
And I think it will be more within reach when we hit consumer product. It will definitely not be within reach of everyone, because you will need a computer that probably ends up costing $800.
Right, you'll need
$700 just to drive it.
Yeah.
And then you'll have to pay. I'm going to guess probably around $400 for the headset.
People barely understand what a regular CPU is. Imagine what a GPU just sort of a standard GPU.
At the rate that stuff's been going, in 10 years when they expect it to really be a thing, we'll probably have graphics drivers well enough that you could probably even just put it in the headset. It could render everything itself.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what's going to happen in 10 years? But I think the price point on it is only going to go down once the consumer version comes out.
True, and I guess it just depends on how many people buy into it.
Then at this point, it's just going to be iterations over years, and as technology gets better, the price is either going to stay the same with a dramatic increase in performance, or it's going to stay the same performance, but the price is going to drop. So as we go forward, it's definitely going to become more available to average consumers.
All right, I would add more, but Gabe, you've been quite silent for the past 20 minutes. Would you like to add
Gabe's
something?
just been eyeballing me over the table.
I think Gabe's been doubting. I think Gabe's been nope, it's not going to happen.
Gabe bought a dev kit.
Everything's going to crash.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good idea. The problem right now is there's no content, because
that's yeah. I think that's going to change once Consumer One comes out.
It's mostly just indie game.
There's a lot of content planned.
Yeah.
For once it releases.
Well, I know Oculus has its own game studio.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's just more of a proof of concept thing, but they have partnerships with a lot. They have people going to all kinds of crazy companies and AAA game companies working on VR stuff. Clearly, Valve is obviously going to be a big supporter of it. They're building a headset, and they've got pretty big pull. in terms of like the games industry. So I think once they're out, I think we're going to see some pretty cool stuff coming out, not just from indie developers and like small studios.
Yeah, because that's the problem. It's like, I have it, but there's not anything that makes me want to like
To use it.
plug everything in and like set it up and start using it.
That's
Just
the other
like,
thing too. They
you
need to
play for
reduce
5
that.
minutes
There
and
is
you're like,
so much friction
yeah.
to getting it working currently on a dev kit 2. It's just like, hey, let me install 96 drivers and then like have nothing work, and then you have to like configure one of them as like an external display, and then like flip it 32.5 degrees, and then like look through one eye while like trying to click on a window so it like maximizes. It's like, okay, we need to like reduce the friction here a little
User
bit, guys.
experience.
Yeah, it's
They even have
pretty
like a
shitty.
see-through, so you just like take it and it'll like show normal.
Yeah, they totally need that. Because like Gear VR has that. It's great.
Yeah.
You can just like tap the button and like it switches to the
actual
camera on the back of the phone, and so then you can look at stuff. They need to have
Another
pass-through
camera.
cameras.
Yeah, I did that.
Add a glass that with a current running through it gets all phased out, but like once you run a current through it, it becomes perfectly clear.
Yeah. But like at 4K.
But 4K.
Well, it would be real life. It's you're just looking at stuff. It doesn't need to be what are you talking about?
I was wondering where Gabe was going with that.
Yes.
I was like, I don't think Gabe just understood what I said there. I'm talking about like glass that sees out the Oculus and not
Yeah.
4K.
4K real life.
What do you even? Yeah, life now in HD.
Life in 4K.
HD Vision sunglasses. Come on.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay,
no.
no.
My gutters.
It's gonna be like 3D glasses, except virtualized reality. I don't know. So, Oculus virtual reality is going to take over. It's going to be the next big thing.
I think
It's gonna
that's like
destroy the market, break everything new, create the new Silicon Valley in Silicon Valley.
that's the thing. Like Twitter has no future plan.
Right. So what else is going to die?
What else is going to die?
Twitter's dying
Dropbox.
right now. Dropbox is going to die.
I think
Yeah, they're
Dropbox is
slowly
done.
going.
No.
Well, they just released a new thing. I don't know what it
I
is.
love Dropbox too. Like,
Yeah.
I adore Dropbox, but they are absolutely going to die. I feel.
Everyone
What do they
else-
do? Cloud storage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone and their mother has a cloud storage thing now. Like, there's nothing. Why would you pay for Dropbox when you can
I
just
certainly
like
don't.
get twice the amount from Google
I think
for free?
the only reason I use Dropbox is because when I was in high school, I was putting together like a slideshow, like a video compilation of like my fencing team, and what I did is I sent out. Nobody used Dropbox, so I just sent out emails saying, "Hey, sign up for Dropbox," and whenever they clicked on that email link, I got like
Space. Well, I mean, I
200
pay for a
megabytes of
terabyte.
space. Yeah, I don't even use that much. I would never use that much.
I use tons. I
But
have tons of stuff
I
on
only
Dropbox.
have like 7 gigs on there.
I used,
Whereas Google, I
tons of
have
stuff on
like
Dropbox.
more than that. So
but
that's what I
like
use
for
primarily.
me, I like their interface. I like the way it works with my devices. I like the camera sync, and I've just used it for a long time. Like I've got tons of stuff on it. I don't feel like uprooting and then like moving to something else.
Yeah, see, my problem is that I
Plus,
use
fuck Google.
the only
People are
problem.
like really worried that Google's going to shut down Drive.
Really?
Just like turn it off. Yeah.
They could be like, hey, well, you know what? Screw you. Like flip the switch.
I've used Google Drive for a really long time,
I don't like it. I don't
and
like the interface.
there's absolute crap support for Google Drive on Linux, which is of course what I'm running main. Because the
Dropbox
developer,
is beautiful support for
Oh,
Linux.
it is. I love it. But the developer, apparently, one of the developers for the Google Drive, like, automatic syncer said, oh, polling your computer to sync every 20 seconds is stupid, so I'm not going to make it for Linux.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make it for Windows and Mac. So,
No,
like,
I mean, it's
like,
unfortunate, but,
broken.
like, what can Dropbox do?
Right now,
What do
it
they
syncs-
expand into? I'm
Well,
saying, like, in
there's a
terms
Keto
of
is there.
growth,
That's like, it
There's
becomes...
a new thing
they've got
called
some
Paper.
incredible, like,
Well,
devs.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible people working at Dropbox. But it's like, where do you go?
They've been trying to make there was a because I am a Python person and Guido is there. They've been working on for a while this new Python interpreter. So like when you run Python in your terminal, it's using CPython as the interpreter. It's what Guido wrote in C. It's the main Python project. And then some people have tried to offshoot write interpreters in different languages. So of course there's Jython, which is Java bytecode interpreter. There's Iron Python, which is the C# version of that. There's PyPy, which is Python that interprets Python, which is kind of weird. It uses a JIT compiler, and it's magically faster than CPython. It's just works 8 to 25 times better than regular Python. Mm-hmm. And then there's this thing that they've been working on over at Dropbox, which the name escapes me right now, which is trying to basically be PyPy, but it's failing. Yeah, it's a JIT, I believe. I have to look it up, but it's a just-in-time compiler for Python. I'm gonna drop. It's Box Python interpreter. But it's doing Piston. It's a just-in-time compiler for Python, using LLVM and all that stuff. PyPy, as a project, works like magic. It just sort of magically makes Python run faster using the JIT. And if anyone doesn't know what a JIT is, it's
just-in-time compiler.
Just-in-time compiler just basically says it tries to look ahead at Python bytecode and compile it ahead of time. So if it knows it's going to be executing a bunch of functions, some code, a lot of times it can kind of optimize it by compiling, that code and running it natively.
But it compiles it
faster.
just in time.
Just in time. That's why they call it just-in-time
for it to
compiler.
execute. So that's what gets the
I've actually heard some pretty good. I actually heard one of my favorite podcasts for Python had one of PyPy's developers on recently, and they talked a lot about kind of the cool stuff they were doing to try to make that work.
Yeah.
It was just some pretty extreme optimizations I was hearing about. It's really crazy what they do.
They basically just get down into bytecode.
Yeah, and then
they're like, man, this one instruction's kind of slow. Let's
Python
make
bytecode is also based off of some old Smalltalk
really
compiler. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's
freaking Smalltalk.
From a while. So he just Guido had chose the virtual machine for. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. Please don't be offended. He'll never hear this. He chose some virtual machine from a Smalltalk implementation, and that's what he based the bytecode on, and that's what he wrote. And then he just had a C. He had his main C file just had a giant if-else statement that just said if the interpreter is if the bytecode is this, then do this. And that's if you look at CPython, the source code, that's what it is. So, but that's what they have working on there. Piston is a Dropbox project. It's worse than PyPy. And of course, I'm looking at the GitHub page, and it's got a build failing stamp on it. So it's not it's a very new project though. So
that's life at a tech company.
So they're trying to work on things.
Did that happen at Bloomberg?
I'm sure it's happened, in beta or something like that, but I wouldn't say not in prod. Although, my team's prod stuff went down constantly, so they'd be like, "Can anyone using prod please switch to dev because prod's down?" And then they're like, "Okay, when's prod gonna be up?" I don't know.
We'll fix it
eventually. And then they put a Rickroll link. They're like, "If you have any questions, you can go here."
Yeah, they're busy over there. All right, so I think we've hit just about time. A little over time now.
It's the VR, man. We got so stuck.
I know. Well, we finished the Twitter thing, and I was like,
that's
what
my
are we
fault.
talk about for 20
I'm
minutes?
just VR from that.
I don't care. I've got about 12% battery left, so we should probably wrap this up.
So, Joe.
Yes.
You have to pick the guest for next week.
I pick the guest for next week?
He also has to sing.
I have to sing?
Guest voice. You can rap if you'd like. If you need some background,
I think if anything, I'd have to rap because my voice isn't working very well.
You don't have to do it, but every guest we had, I completely forgot, but every guest we've had so far has sung.
That is true.
Except for Miguel, who wasn't technically our guest the first time.
But he did sing.
Well, can we make? Yeah, I don't know who to pick.
Someone. Just anyone who hasn't been on before.
Not Miguel, Simeon, Emma, Jesse. Or yourself, or
I would
Jesse,
pick
Brett.
Brian is not going to humor you guys. What about Todd?
Yeah, well, we already had Todd.
We had Todd
on the Simeon episode.
Sugar cubes, as Garrison would say.
Sugar cubes. Glorious.
Oh man, who else would be fun? I don't know. This is hard. This is too much pressure.
That's
have
why
Alex
I give
Miller?
it to you. Miller?
Miller?
We could do Miller.
Oh, you know what? We haven't done Miller.
Alex
He would do
Miller.
well. We're recording, Adam. He's
No,
peeking
open the
in.
door. Let
Open
him
the
in.
door.
Let's see.
Oh.
Bring him in.
You know what? He's just earned himself a spot on the next
Oh, they ran away. They ran away.
What's going on?
We were freaking out because the piano's gone downstairs.
Oh, the piano downstairs.
Somebody
Yeah.
stole the piano?
It's gone.
Well, I mean, they're gonna catch them because there's cameras everywhere. So
Yeah, we can't find it. We wanted to play piano.
that's like the guy in Digman last year who was like, "Let me just light this elevator on
Yeah,
fire." But
like-
like, there's cameras in every hallway and in the elevator.
No, it's fine. It's
We're
fine.
done. We can edit this.
We're just rambling now.
Yeah.
Who steals a piano? Like,
Wow.
how dumb are you? Are you editing this out?
No, I don't. I can leave it in.
We could just be like, all right, that was the random conversation we had with the freshman. Join us next time for more
Wait,
random
no,
questions.
no. We still have to decide the guest.
Oh, the
No,
guest.
Alex Miller.
We're gonna lose a
I'm
massive
triggered.
viewer
Oh
audience.
no.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I've turned it off by now.
So I'm sure the rambling we're doing right now is gonna be all cut off, which is why I don't care anymore. So Miller next time.
Yes.
All right. Joe,
Joe.
the one who got hired.
The one.
The one.
I'm the one.
Join us
Wednesday.
next week on CoreCast.
With
Same
Alex
time,
Miller.
same place with Alex Miller.
Miller.